Saksikan segmen Money Talks bersama saya Syarifah Rahma dan langsung dari perhelatan BRI Microfinance Outlook 2025. Saat ini saya sudah bersama dengan Harsha Rodriguez, selaku Head of Regional Client Services at Women's World Banking. How are you, Harsha?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on CNBC Indonesia. It's a pleasure to have you here. So the first question for you is, how does Women's World Banking evaluate the urgency of accelerating access to financial services for vulnerable groups such as MSMEs, women, youth, and rural population in the Asia-Pacific region?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the first thing that we do when we talk about evaluation is really understand the data. So research is a very important piece of our work in understanding where the women are, what their needs are, what's available in the market, what are the constraints, so that we can then develop, the right solutions for them. So research and evaluation is critical. Then we understand, where the need is and what we can come in and do. So to just give you an example, when COVID happened in years past, in Indonesia specifically, the government did a lot of work on G2P transfers. And so we came in there, we found that that was where, there was a real need and there was urgency. We came in there and we supported them on the PKH program that they had, the G2P. And because that was the opportunity for a bank account to be open by transfer coming in. And so it's a perfect opportunity to build on that and bring women into the formal financial fold. And so we worked with them in terms of how do you support customers in understanding how the product works and how to save instead of just, withdrawing the money. And we saw that there was actually a 17% increase in savings as a result of the program. So oftentimes the need is based on, research and an understanding of the market and an understanding of the women's context. So speaking with them directly becomes really important.
Okay, that's interesting actually. So how does Women's World Banking view the opportunities and challenges of implementing an inclusive and sustainable economy in Asia-Pacific region?
So Women's World Banking works in 3 markets in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and Cambodia. Collectively, across these 3 markets, there are about 70 million women who do not have a bank account. Interestingly, almost double that, or about 124 million, 125 million, don't have access to formal credit. So we see this, as a gap and an opportunity that presents itself in terms of, what we'd like to do. And so Indonesia, for example, we're very much focused on MSMEs. That has been the topic of the discussion today at the BRI Microfinance 2025 Outlook, is how do we work with more MSMEs and bring them into the formal financial fold and increase economic participation. Because working with women who are 50% of the population is so critical, for an economy to realize its full potential. And MSMEs play a significant role at the backbone of any economy. So we see this as a thread actually across all of these 3 markets in Southeast Asia, as an area to invest in, as an area to focus in.
Okay, is there any differences between empowering the women and economic through MSMEs in Asia Pacific compared to other region?
I think the components of empowerment, which are on a spectrum, are similar across countries globally. We look at things like material change, how much more savings does a woman have as a result of being included, how much has her business grown as a result of access to finance, right? These are things that can be measured, tangible. We call that material change. But then there are also other dimensions of empowerment, like how self-confidence, her self-esteem, how has that changed? Her relationship in the household, how is she perceived as a result of now bringing income in? How has that changed?
Cultural things.
Yeah, so those kinds of things are all similar across different countries. How to get there, the pathway to get to empowerment may be different because each country is different, each context and the societal and the cultural constraints are different per market.
Okay, so from your point of view, how is it in Asia Pacific regions? What are the challenges and what are the opportunities?
So in the Asia-Pacific region, we're seeing access to productive credit as an area that is a key focus. We have also been looking at payments, digital payments here, and leveraging digital innovation. So in Indonesia, we've done a piece of work on digital remittances. In Cambodia, we've done some work when it comes to youth. We've also done some work on remittances in Cambodia, from Cambodia to Thailand. So we're seeing, digital as a key piece in these markets. We're seeing productive credit as a key piece. And in Indonesia specifically, looking at MSMEs and the barriers impacting MSMEs, informality, data. These are things we see as critical in order to, make a difference so that more women are participating in the economy and then therefore, having greater contribution to the country's growth, and then individual empowerment, having the agency, having the means to, make choices from an empowerment standpoint.
Okay, could you please elaborate more on what innovative financial inclusion programs is Women's World Banking preparing to collaborate with countries in the Asia Pacific region, including Indonesia, in this year, 2025?
So I'd say there are two areas that we're looking at closely that are, new and relevant at this point. One is looking at the issues around climate change. We're seeing that 753 million women in the world do not have access to a bank account nor an e-wallet. In climate vulnerable countries, 753 million women don't have this. Another figure is 880 million women don't have the means to receive any payments. So if an emergency occurs and there's an opportunity to receive relief payments, there is no way to get it easily. There is a 20% gender gap in insurance globally. So climate, is a key area that is important to focus on, and it impacts women disproportionately. So this is an area that we're focused on globally and very much so in Southeast Asia as well. And the other area that we're looking at is the care economy. So women are very much involved in taking care of, the children and taking care of elders. And that sometimes results in them not being able to work outside the house, although they are generating income. And so looking at this as an opportunity and understanding where there may be ways in which we can bring access to finance to women that are, having this responsibility at home, or finding ways in which that they can also formalize and generate, more income. So it's an area that we're looking at in greater detail.
Okay, that's interesting, actually. So other than environmental sustainability and those that you've said before, is there any specific subsectors that has been the focus of a women's world banking so far?
Industry sectors, you mean? Typically, we're finding that, women are in the food business, the hospitality business, handicrafts, crafts. So this is where we typically are seeing women, but I don't think we should limit ourselves to that. More and more you are seeing women in other non-traditional sectors, STEM sectors. Banking, to be honest, men and women start out at the same rate. They end up in different places, but they typically start out equally.
So it's open to any opportunities ahead.
Exactly.
Okay, so the last question is, what is the Women's World Banking response to this event, BRI Microfinance Outlook 2025, and what is a Women's World Banking view on BRI's focus in actively supporting the empowerment of vulnerable groups?
No, it's been wonderful to hear from the CEO of BRI to the Minister from CME to Sri Mulyani, the Minister of Finance, all of them speaking to the terms, they use the terms in their speeches, about women's empowerment. They talked about economic empowerment. And I'm happy to see, that focus and that link on MSMEs. So I think the intent, the vision is very much here, and it's linked to, the 2045 Indonesia Golden Vision that everybody's talking about, which is, to have much greater economic growth. But Indonesia currently has a gender gap. There's a 30% gender gap in labor force participation. And so in order to, become this country that is growing at a rate of 6 to 8% that the government is seeking, women have to become, part of that. They have to play a role because women are 50% of the population.
More participation from women.
More participation of women is absolutely, essential. And because MSMEs are such a large part of the country, they employ about 97% of the country's workforce. And we've seen that actually women MSMEs employ 55% of women MSMEs we found employ more women than men. So there is a multiplier effect there as well. If you, have more women MSMEs who employ more women, that's how you generate greater, participation and economic growth. So really important, and it's great to see women leaders like, Sri Mulyani, sharing that vision, because women's leadership is also, critical. And I'll just put a plug in for a program that we have, which is for regulators. It's a leadership program for regulators, where in fact Indonesia has sent the Ministry of Finance. They have sent participants from other ministries here that focus on looking at policy from a gender lens is something that is great, and many ministries here are coordinating their efforts in order to drive women's financial inclusion. So very inspired by that.
Okay, thank you so much, Harsha. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Have a good day. Dan pemirsa, demikian perbincangan kami langsung dari BRI Macro Finance Outlook 2025. Saya Syarifah Rahma, CNBC Indonesia Beyond Business.